In my last video, I talked about how Valorant ranking up just feels very luck-based. Like, what actual rank you get just feels so determined by luck. But what a lot of people also agreed with was the fact that your KD genuinely does seem to play into account with the matchmaking and how good your teammates will be.
One enemy remaining.
A lot of people would say that their high KD has been like giving them bad teammates, and a lot of people have also mentioned that like having a bad KD is giving you good teammates. Look, in this video here, I did say that if I got 100 likes, which I have gotten, that I would be buying this bundle here in Valorant. So, there's only one thing to do from here. Right, here you are. I'm going to show you guys a bunch of different gameplay that I have using the skins that I bought. Honestly, I've come to think that the skins are absolutely fire. The rest of this video isn't going to feature a lot of this, just because a lot of these are like back recordings. I'm still a wee behind on my... Okay, not a wee behind. A fair bit behind on my editing. So, you'll probably see a bunch of these skins in like future episodes. Episode like 5 and 6 and onwards will probably be filled to the brim with them. But no, like I've definitely been using it. I actually really like the purchase. Is it worth the price I paid for? Absolutely not. Is it good? Most definitely. Like, it's still really cool. So thank you everyone for the support in the last video. And I mean, let me show you this right here. This is an ace that I just hit with it as well.
I'm just gonna plant safe.
One enemy remaining.
But anywho, thank you for the support, and I'll get back to the video. So that seems to be something that is generally accepted and isn't just an experience of my own, but is actually felt by most of the community. I actually did basically run a few tests, just by the way, comparing my two accounts. One of which has a bad KD, one of which has a good KD, and the teammates, like, that you get, the difference, is actually quite noticeable, I gotta say.
Guys, there.
Oh
my gosh. Behind you, Kobe!
In general, it seems like the game really wants to balance the KD to make up 1.0 as the average KD for the team. Meaning if you have a 1.3 KD, on average they're going to try find players with like a 0.95 or a 0.9 to try balance you out. And likewise, if you have a terrible KD, let's say 0.7, then in order to balance you out, it's going to have to try give you players with really good KDs.
Oh my gosh, 111 random.
Meaning that it's kind of in your own benefit to actually have a bad KD, at least when it comes to the matchmaking sense. Obviously, look, you do need to get your kills in the game to, you know, obviously win rounds and to then win the game. And of course, you know, the RR that you get is going to be influenced by things like how well you actually perform. But theoretically speaking, any rounds that you can win and have gotten 0 kills and still died is technically, seemingly in its benefit to you because, you know, like I said, it's going to be neutralizing your KD.
We help Sage on B.
Enemy down. Last player standing.
I've personally found that having a KD of exactly 1.0 or more or less like around there, 0.95 or 1.05, all of that is absolutely fine. You'll get pretty balanced teammates. Some teams will be bad, others will be really good, and a lot of it will be somewhat a mix in between, but it'll be pretty balanced. And I've definitely noticed that when my KD was 1.3, it felt like every single game I just had terrible teammates. Teammates who needed me to carry them. Teammates who, if I took my foot off the gas, that's it, we would lose. End of story. No questions asked.
Two of them.
Meanwhile, on another account of mine, the account that is actually ranked plat 2, don't get me started on that, but on that account, I actually have a KD of about 0.9, and that one is crazy, because I always seem to get good teammates. Like, I'm like an assist to them. Without me, they'll still most likely win the game, whilst I'm just kind of an assisting factor. So it's night and day difference.
Hello.
I do think that this affects what kind of queue you do differently, just for context. Some people do say that like solo queuing, this is like a huge important element to it, and that if you're solo queuing, like ranked, you're an insane person, which I kind of agree with, and I do very much take part in that.
One enemy remains. Last player standing.
Help. Thank you for carrying.
I do think that when you're duoing or trioing with someone, that then your KD definitely still plays into account, but I think they kind of develop a KD for your duo or your trio collectively. I could be wrong on that, but that's seemingly what it feels like. I often play with a friend who has, I think, a 0.8 KD, and so him and I together kind of balanced each other out, at least before I neutralized, at least after I neutralized my KD. When I had a 1.3 KD and he had a 0.8, theoretically speaking, him and I combined still had a KD of, what, like 1.1 or something? So in general, we had worse teammates, but once I neutralized my KD down to like 1.2 and 1.1, then actually I found that that him and I actually did get higher quality teammates, which kind of makes sense because then collectively, if I have a KD of 1.2, here's a 0.8, that makes a 1 KD for us collectively, meaning that the other 3 teammates should theoretically also have more or less 1.0 KDs. I do have to say, I think there's a lot of flaws that can potentially happen with a system like this, though, because obviously the better you are, the better your KD is most likely going to be. And of course, the better you are, the more deserving you are of a higher rank, meaning that getting sentenced to having bad teammates, well, leads to the issue that we are all well aware of, which is getting hard stuck. And I think that's genuinely the issue. It's that a player will have a really good KD, and potentially really good other stats as well, but in particular a really good KD, so much so that it sentences them to bad teammates, and as a result, they have to carry even more, thus increasing their KD and kind of spiraling into this self-perpetuating issue. And look, this could just be a coincidence, but at one point I did absolutely tank my KD intentionally, and I ended up getting better teammates from it. So it's weird. I did initially drop in rank, just by the way, but then I ended up actually going up a fair bit. So like I dropped down in 1 rank, and then I ended up going up in 2. So it was kind of a step backwards to go 2 steps forwards. So overall, I'd call that a win, but
There's
yeah,
another one.
I don't know if that's necessarily going to help for you, but it was a very odd coincidence that I noticed.
Last player standing. 1 enemy remaining.
No.
And obviously, on that note, I do think that like KD obviously isn't everything. If you're getting picks, but the only picks that you're getting are at moments where they just don't matter,
One there,
or
one there.
you know, for example, after the round's lost, and then you get 3 picks, like while they're running away from the spike, that doesn't really matter that much. Yes, it's destroying their economy, but it still isn't having that much of an influence. Whereas, for example, if you got 3 picks while they were trying to defuse the spike and you ended up winning the round, that is far more influential. But yeah, overall, this seems to be something that the whole community can actually agree on, that this is genuinely something that takes place. I genuinely thought I was a tinfoil, like, hat conspiracy theorist talking about this, but a lot of people seem to agree. So I'd even go out on a limb here and say that it's probably actually just something that's confirmed. I've taken a bunch of different screenshots of various matches where I can see that like my good KD is giving me other players, like a whole team of 0.8 KD players. And who would have guessed? They basically needed to be carried and they completely bottom fragged.
Last player standing.
And so a little bit of like actionable steps that you could personally take is potentially just recognizing that if your KD is too good, I would say above 1.2. In fact, I'd even say above 1.15. Know that it's potentially impacting your matchmaking and that you may be better off subtly neutralizing that KD.
85. Nice.
Obviously, don't intentionally throw, but I don't know, maybe play more of an entry role, a role where you can still very much benefit the team, but obviously, if you're entering onto site, that's a difficult thing to do and you might be dying more often. Another thing that you could do is, in theory, play an agent like Clove, someone who has the potential to actually die twice in a round. Obviously, that gives you more opportunities to die, thus giving you more opportunities to, well, neutralize your KD.
Enemy remaining.
2 bullets.
But overall, if you are finding that you are hard stuck, please take a look at your KD on the Valorant Tracker app. And if it is above 1.15, please let me know, because that would really confirm the theory that I have here. And just remember, folks, the better you do, the more the algorithm is going to push back against you. Unfortunately. Until they fix it. If they ever do, which they probably won't, realistically speaking. But, oh well.
One enemy remaining.
1 HP, 1 HP.
The other thing is, like, look, the whole Radianite system in Valorant is a little bit of a scam, right? Like, so the bundle that I just bought, which, can I just point out how crazy this was? So, the bundle was 9,900, which when you buy the maximum combo here, you can't even buy the bundle. You still have to buy an additional, like, it's 9,900 for the bundle. So you have to buy this and this, meaning that technically, at a minimum, I have just spent, what is that? Like over $150. I never want to have to explain this to any of my family or friends or anyone who doesn't game at all, because that is the most embarrassing thing ever. But on top of that, what I've just bought, I don't even get full access to, really. Because let's be real, like, you have to go through and you have to upgrade everything. Which I have pretty limited Radianite. As you can see here, I only have 170. So, like, okay. Hold on. So, we'll buy the animation. The knife's kind of cooked. Oh, it only required 10. Oh, that's so good. We shall stick to the default for now. Like I said, I'm a little bit brokey with the Radianite, so we'll stick to the default. Sound effects, likewise. And there's animation. Oh no.